So if you have a cell phone or a pager, please turn it off or set it to stun, especially if your phone is talking to you right now. It's talking to you, you don't know what's going on with it. Right, just... Somebody else's screen talking to them too? Whoever phone is talking to that person, if that person can't hear it, just identify it to that person so the person can turn it off. See, I have my own parents. It's okay. Just find it and turn it off. It'll be a whole lot tougher to listen to what we're going to say about Margot. Baruch Dayan Ha'amet, we praise the Judge of Truth. It's a beautiful weather day, and so it makes being sad about the passing of your dear Margot Hoicowitz just a little bit better than if it were 15 degrees and snowing outside, so at least you can be upset and not catch a death of cold. Beginning with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakaka v'yarech belayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzedcha v'uecha, me'ata v'ad olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from whence cometh my help? My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian, he is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken your beloved, our beloved, Margot Hoicowitz. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Margot's love that united many people in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship that was shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought joy and happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to God. It is a time, it's a time of sadness and a time of grief. And so once again, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Let us together recite in the English the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So we are gathered this morning to fulfill the solemn obligation of paying our respects to the memory of your dearly departed Margot Hoicowitz. Her Her Jewish name, or her Yiddish name, is Chayka, which is not a Hebrew name. In Hebrew, it would be Chava, which means life. Adam's wife was Eve. Chava is her Hebrew name, one who gives life. Chayka in the Yiddish. She has been a life giver and has lived a good life and a meaningful life. This assembly of friends and loved ones is a support to the sorrowing family, and there are more people here than the family thought would be here, which is also a nice thing when you arrive and you're surrounded by so many friends. She was loving and caring. She made a delicious Thanksgiving stuffing. She loved hamburgers, they said. She was a smart lady. She loved to do crossword puzzles. She loved nature and animals, especially dogs and cats, but not reptiles. She thought of others first. She was a good friend to others. She is survived by many friends. Especially we want to remember Mickey Wise, a friend of 75 years. It's a good long time. And Eileen Joseph. On Tuesday, as the family sat and talked about Margot, I was reminded of a teaching in the Talmud. It's from a section of the Talmud for Yom Kippur. It's called, the tractate is called Yoma, which means the day. Yom Kippur, the day. The teaching goes as this. When the temple stood in Jerusalem, Gesundheit, when the temple stood in Jerusalem on the holiest day of the year, the Day of Atonement, the high priest would enter the Holy of Holies and offer prayers on behalf of himself, and then on behalf of his family, and then on behalf of the whole household of Israel. And the assembled Israelites would wait for the high priest to come out. Afterward, the Talmud says, he would enter into the presence of the community and he would read a brief section from the Torah. It doesn't say which section from the Torah, but a brief section, which usually makes people in the congregation happy when the rabbi does something briefly. So he read a brief section, but he would conclude with these words, far more than I have read to you is written therein. Far more than I have read to you is written therein. And so it is today. Far more than I can ever describe in words is the life of your dear wife and mother-in-law and grandmother and friend and relative. The love you feel for Margot, you express by your spoken and your unspoken remembrances. All of you by your presence, by the thoughts in your mind and the feelings in your heart, you extol her virtues. The tears that you shed extol her virtues. The laughter extols her virtues and qualities. You are poorer for her loss, and yet profoundly enriched by the life she lived and the memory she has bequeathed to you. Margot Bauman was born in Cleveland on October 20th, 1930. As her granddaughter Samantha, as Sam said, she was born on 10/20/30, which makes it easy to remember. 10/20/30. Margot was the only child of Herman and Ida, both of blessed memory. It was a childhood filled with challenges, not easy challenges, some very difficult challenges. Her mom and dad divorced when she was 5 years old, and then her father died when Margot was the tender age of 12 years old. She was not a big fan of going to Hebrew school, and the girls recounted the lengths to which she went not to go to Hebrew school. So apparently one day Margot said that her right side hurt, and Ida, her mother, and Ida's mom, Margot's grandmother, whose name I didn't have, but her grandmother said, oh, must be something wrong with her appendix. Took her to the hospital. Doctor said, oh yeah, something wrong with the appendix. Actually, they said she had appendicitis. And they took out her appendix just so she would, just to be safe. As it turned out, her right side didn't hurt at all. She was too scared to tell her grandmother after she, told the lie that it really didn't hurt. They figured grandma would kill her, she probably figured. But that's pretty serious to try to get out of Hebrew school. There's only one problem with that, is that you can only do that once. So, I mean, she had to go to Hebrew school probably after that, a bunch. She went to Glenville High School, and in about 1954, she met Arthur Hoicowitz on a blind date. Art said, her mother liked me. They dated and were married on July 31st, 1955. Art was a CPA, and the company Hoicowitz and Associates. Margot was a bookkeeper, and obviously much, much, much more. But, you need somebody to keep the books. Margot and Art shared a life of more than 62 years and were blessed with family. Three daughters, and 2 grandchildren. Corey's married to Brett. Debbie's married to David. Daughter Susan, and grandchildren Jeremy and Samantha, Sam. Corey, Debbie, and Susan recalled, she was an amazing mom. She loved animals and nature. She had a dry sense of humor. She once saved a fly from a ketchup bottle, and when it wouldn't leave, she said, if that fly doesn't leave, I'll kill it. After she saved the fly. The girl said she always put everyone else first. She would bring home, they said, stray people, for the holidays. So people that didn't have someplace to go for a holiday, she would say, hey, come on over. Thanksgiving was her favorite holiday, and they said she made an awesome stuffing. Outside of Thanksgiving, she really didn't like to cook or bake. But for Thanksgiving, that was an awesome stuffing, which is not a bad thing. She refused to give up Thanksgiving, the girl said. So what ended up happening is, as she continued to age, the girls would come over the day before, and they would, make the stuffing. She loved to bowl, and she told Art she didn't like golf, but she loved to bowl. And she went bowling on Wednesdays. And the girls said, we learned growing up, no one could get sick on Wednesdays and get in the way of bowling. Over the years, she was a real fighter in terms of illness. I mean, she didn't give up easily. She was a determined person. And during her final days in hospice, she was calling out to her first dog. She had a dog apparently a long time ago named Mitzi. And Mitzi was waiting for her. She had dogs and cats over the years, and she told the girl she wanted another dog. Her family didn't leave her alone. I don't mean in the, Utzing kind of way. I mean, as she was passing away in hospice, they didn't leave her alone. I mean, made sure that someone was with her, and that's a very important mitzvah, not to leave our loved ones alone. And she breathed her last early Monday morning, about 2:15 in the morning. And her soul is now at peace. It's a time of rest and a time of peace, and there's no more pain, there's no more deterioration. There's just rest and wholeness and peace. Her soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of her dear family, friends, and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. And as we conclude, I would just like to share a couple of things from Sam and Jeremy. So, Sam wrote, one story Jeremy and I remember is when Kima, that's what they called her, grandma. Apparently Jeremy couldn't say grandma when he was younger. And this happens to all of us, right? You have family members who have names that you go, how'd you get that name? Well, at the age of 2, so-and-so couldn't say your name, so that's how you get your nickname. So when Kima was going to take us to the movies, because the Lorax had just come out, Sam wrote, we were in her car, and we were going to be about 15 minutes late for this movie because we had left late. By the time we got there, had food in our hands, and were sitting down, the movie previews hadn't even started yet because Grandma had one of the biggest lead foots ever. To this day, this is one of my favorite movies, The Lorax. Kima never disappointed us and was always there to listen to us complain. We couldn't have asked for a better woman to call our grandmother. Jeremy recalled, some of my best memories with Kima are sitting at the kitchen table eating Oreos and drinking orange pop, talking about what's new in both of our lives, debating topics such as politics and animal care, or who would clean the toilet seats. Many of these debates, he wrote, ended up in stalemates, and it was always in good fun in the end. So Judaism teaches that when a loved one dies, the person's soul returns to God, and the soul is in a place, it's not a place, it's a time called Olam Haba, the world to come. It's a spiritual existence, not a place. This is a place. We'll go to Mount Olive Cemetery, that's a place. The soul returns to God in an eternal time called Olam Haba. And Judaism teaches that when we go, our souls will be together with our loved ones in this time called Olam Haba. The family has allowed us to send along an old prayer book with her in the casket, because not only is it a mitzvah to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, but also holy books of our tradition. Your memories are rich with thoughts of your dear Margot Hoicowitz, and she has gone from life. We thank God for the gift of this long life, 87 plus years. Which is a tremendous blessing. And as you think of her, try to be kinder. Try to make some Thanksgiving stuffing. Go bowling. Learn how to, take care of dogs and cats and stray people. And just don't, bring over any reptiles in her loving memory. Be a good friend. Be a confidant. If you're going to be stubborn and strong-willed, as she often was, which is not a problem, only if you don't take your medication and you're strong-willed, right? But, if you're going to be strong-willed and love somebody, make sure that you do those kinds of things and do these things in her loving memory. For only through the deeds which we perform can the world be compensated for her loss. We conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, V'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevorach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru, yimru, amen. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom, ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed Margot Hoicowitz. And together let us say, Amen. Please rise for the El Malei Rachamim prayer.